Okay, seeing that it's 6:04, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And could you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes of public and non-public meeting minutes of September 8th of 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented, public and non-public.
Bridget LaBrie for the second. Discussion? Okay. I did not have any. Very thorough as usual. Thank you, Kamala. Tim, did you have something?
No, I was giving a big thumbs up.
Okay. Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to accept both the public and non-public meeting minutes of September the 8th of 2020 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention, and that'll be Kathleen. Stacy. Thank you. Okay. So we have the COVID update with Dr. Buffet. Good evening. Oh, David, we cannot hear you.
Sorry. You should have updated from the last 2 weeks. I did add a new source of information that I came across that includes down toward the bottom of the several of the sections the number of cases in New Hampshire schools. Currently 18. There were none previous because there were no schools the previous 2 weeks prior to the 2 weeks ago. So as far as I am aware, and I'm certainly, please feel free to notify me of any changes. There was one case in the Hartford school, and I don't believe that was a Mascoma student, but you know, there will be the occasional cases. That the numbers continue to be very small, and hopefully, but slowly increasing. If you look at the around the state and locally in the 3 counties. So I think we have to be continue diligent about the safety precautions. One thing I would like to mention was that I did attend via Zoom because I couldn't be there in person by the rules of the Mascoma volleyball games. And I noted that the players used masks during their warm-up, but did not during the games. It strikes me that it would be worthwhile to review that. I also saw some of the teams practicing out on the field in close proximity with each other, standing around and not having masks. So each one of those would be supervised by an adult coach. So there is the opportunity for taking some responsibility for that. Probably worthy of some further discussion. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Buffet? Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Buffet, for your time.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda would be public comment. We don't have anyone in the auditorium tonight. Is there anyone in the public that would like to? Yeah, they can raise hands. So if you could raise your hand if you want to speak. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so we will move on.
I take
Continuing.
that as dismissed.
Moving on to the Budget Committee under continuing business of September the 14th. Hope, that would be you. Just giving an overall update on how your first meeting went with the Budget Committee.
The Budget Committee meeting was basically a organizational meeting, and they elected the officers and the chair and the vice chair, which was Scott Sanborn as the chair and Dan Kiley as the vice chair. Let's see, we reviewed the meeting schedule. The budget discussion amounted to Amanda Isabel stated that the district would be looking to level fund the budget for the year, and is doing their best during, the unforeseen changes that are coming up with COVID. But they hope to be able to maintain that. They've been able to allocate funds in different ways to accommodate and to adequately distance the students, and have been doing all sorts of creative things that they can do in any which way. One of the issues that sort of came up during the budget discussion was the fact that there is an increase in homeschooled kids this year because of COVID-19, I think especially at Canaan Elementary. Of course, those kids do not, when they're homeschooled, there's no monies going into the budget for them. So that was discussed a bit. Deb said that the unavoidable increases in the budget this year amount to about $740,000, mostly being the new teacher's contract, support staff contract increase, and the New Hampshire retirement system increase. Let's see. We talked a little bit about the added expenses due to COVID-19. FEMA is no longer going to be offering funds. And let's see, in total, there was about $90,000 in related COVID expenses, which doesn't come out of the CARES, which will have to come out of facilities. So there was a couple of discussion about some of the line items, and we also looked at the enrollment at CES for a bit, and we know that the numbers are down there, particularly because of the homeschooling, but they're hoping that those numbers go back to normal. And just discuss, the next meeting is October, it doesn't say this, October 6th, I believe. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you, Hope. Any questions for Hope? Danielle?
This is not necessarily a question for Hope per se, but I wondered, after hearing the reminder about the homeschool population and the impact that that will have on our reimbursement or our funding from the state, if this is one of those places where having the 3-year averages for the towns not only helps the towns with the peaks and valleys, but helps us with our budgeting peaks and valleys.
Yes, that's very true. Any other questions? Okay, so that is our first joint meeting is October 5th. Okay, just want to be sure. And that will be here in the auditorium? Okay, thank you. All right, Educational Issues Committee that met on September 17th. Is that Bridget? Okay.
All right, so we did a quick update on the reopening and how everything went. We had asked Amanda and Nancy, just if we could get a little feedback on kind of the social emotional state of our students and how everything seemed with our first couple weeks, and also just how the professional development went with teachers. Amanda did tell us that the students are doing great and are quite joyful to be back at school. There's really only been maybe one slight issue with the mask, and that was taken care of relatively quickly, so nothing since. And most of the classes are taking regular mask breaks. And Amanda just checked in with principals to make sure that if that wasn't happening, that teachers would be making sure that does happen. We will continue to do the breaks too. Amanda did note, as the weather gets a little bit cooler, just making sure that students have the proper attire to be able to step outside and take their mask off. Nancy did say that the training, also the professional development, went smoothly, and that I know Amanda also mentioned that once teachers were in it, you know, they were a little nervous at the beginning, and once they were able to see the students, it kind of helped them feel a little bit better and things calmed down, I think. Everybody was very excited to be back for the most part. So, and I think that most of us have seen a lot of the professional development, because Nancy does give us updates. So they did do some of their mandatory trainings right at the beginning, and it was all virtual. So everybody is making that wonderful virtual change all the time. Our next meeting is October 15th, and we discussed taking a look at the remote academy, just getting an update. Amanda would really love to hear how that's going, and we would like to hear that as well. And then possibly a STEAM update. So anybody wants to take a look?
Okay, any questions? Any comments? It was a pretty thorough meeting, that's for sure. Thank you. Do we know if the sign got put up at IRS, the one that was requested by Tim about masks being worn from this point?
I haven't been in there since either, but
Okay.
I'll double check with them.
Yeah. Okay. Superintendent's report. It's Amanda.
You do not have a written report for me. Time did just not allow for me to get it in time for it to be prepared for this packet. But there are a couple things I would like to bring up. You know, we are on week 3. Very proud of our teachers, very proud of our students. People are working very, very hard. You know, a couple of snags, a couple of, you know, issues as they would be expected. But we are working through them. When parents contact me at the SAU office, I often ask them to go back to the building principal and to work out issues that way. So I continue once again to remind people that if they have a concern, that they really need to start at the building level first, and then to work up to our to me if necessary. So just so you know, and that would be, you know, some people have said they would like to come to speak to the board. I always let them know that that is their prerogative, and they're more than welcome to come and speak to the board with any concerns that they might have. I also did want to say that I was extremely proud of the historical moment on Saturday. The girls played their first soccer game, did an outstanding job against the semifinal champions or the runner-ups from the D2 division, I believe, is what I was told last year. So the Claremont girls, our girls played very, very well. I was very proud of them. I let them know that. And, you know, just looking forward, I think I'm going to bring the idea to EIC of potentially looking at creating a charter school out of the Mascoma Remote Academy. So I think I'd like the EIC group to work with me on that to see if that's something that may fit here at Mascoma. I've received very large praise for that program, and a lot of people asking me if that would continue. So I will say that right now we've had 4 homeschool students return to Remote Academy, and I hope it's going well for those parents. But that was a very I think the word of the Remote Academy and the strength of the program really has brought people thinking, that they were going to homeschool because they weren't sure about Remote Academy because of their experiences this spring. And I think we have changed that. That, remember, was my big pitch to you all. I said we can do better. And I think we have and are still doing better. I'm hearing great things from some of our teachers. The parents give me a lot of feedback. I'm hearing our new science teacher at the high school went and collected water samples with her class that was physically there. And she put her remote kids on her phone and took them with her. So those kids got that experience of going. Hearing great things from the middle school teachers that are teaching remotely. So I'm just very pleased with how that program's going. And I think it might be something for the EIC committee to really look at, continuing as a program here for our students.
Okay, any questions for Amanda? Okay. Yeah, Danielle.
About the idea of charter school, would we be thinking about K through 12 or a K through 8? Because we already utilize the Ledyard Charter School for some of our high school programs, and because Remote Academy at Mascoma Remote Academy at the high school level is set up a little bit differently than at the younger grades.
Yeah, we would have to look at it as. Ooh, you were delayed right there. I thought I was talking over you. So no, we would have to look at it exactly differently. It's got to be this kind of a program and then this kind of a program if possible. So it's really something kind of just in the infant stages. It's something where I thought, if this is a change and a revolution, if we've learned anything from COVID, that this is a chance for a revolution and a change in education. For some of our kids.
Oh.
So I would like to continue with it. But yes, it would involve a lot of planning and it will look different at the different grade levels.
And one last thing that I'll mention is that we have another historic girls soccer moment. They're playing down in Newport right now, and the halftime score was 1-0 Mascoma, with a trio of freshmen and sophomores scoring our very first goal in program history.
That's awesome. All right, anything else for Amanda? Okay. Thanks for your hard work, Amanda. You're excused on the report for tonight.
Oh, Cookie, I almost thought I could.
Oh, we got Deb tonight, business administrator's report, and we have our financials in the packet.
Yes, the financials are in your packet. So far, so good. I did want to talk a little bit more about the CARES grant. I met with Amanda, Nancy, the curriculum director, and Craig Sutty, the technology director, and we looked at what we need for technology, and we're in good shape right now. So we've reallocated $30,000 of that to cover a lot of the disinfectant, the bigger money items, the thermometers, the sprayers that Corrado's using. So we're going to cover that with those funds. We also found out pretty much too late on the 15th, which was the due date for the Gopher grant, that Canaan has money and they are willing to give us $70,000 of their Gopher money for us to use. I know I checked with Enfield here, but I didn't think to ask Canaan. And Amanda talked to Bill Bellion, who talked to Mike Sampson, and said that we could use that. But he just submitted his request for July 1st through August 31st. So if I need something going forward through October 15th, I can get in on the October 30th request. So I really appreciate that from the town of Canaan. Remote meals we continue to do for remote students. Enfield Route is delivering 44 meals 3 days a week. And then the Canaan route that goes to Grafton and Dorchester is delivering about 30 meals. So we do have paras doing that. So Amanda and I are not driving that route any longer, which is a relief for me time-wise. As you know, we've been working on the budget, so we'll have Canaan and Enfield's budgets finalized by next Wednesday at the latest is my plan to get that emailed out to the budget committee members for the meeting on the 5th. The other thing I wanted to mention was SAU office protocols. At the SAU, we're not really letting anybody into the building without an appointment. So I just want the board to be aware of that. So we're doing that with everybody that works in the district too. If you're dropping off or picking up, we leave it in the entryway. And if you need to have an appointment with somebody, just call and make an appointment before. And then, we'll just escort you to where you're going in there. So we're really trying to keep everybody in our office, safe as well, because we do have some people that are concerned, just so you know. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, do we have any questions for Deb? Oh,
I was wondering, is this more of maybe a suggestion or something that might be helpful at this point with the CARES grant? I mean, I know we got a considerable amount of money in the grant, and at this point, I'm getting confused in terms of, I know there's X amount in the grant, and I know that some grant monies have been petitioned for, you've gotten some. In other words, if we had some sort of separate ongoing kind of accounting, not even much, just a very simple spreadsheet that shows where we're at.
Well, all the federal grants are in a separate fund, and I can share that with you at any time. But that's how the IDEA grants, the Title I, the Title IV, the Title V, the Title VI, all of those grants are in a separate fund. So we track those all the time. So this CARES money is just another federal grant. So it's $256,000. As we spend it each month, we have to report every month to the state, and that's how we get reimbursed. So
Sure.
all the federal grants work like that. So I can share the federal grant reports, but they are always, whatever money we receive is what we spend. So it always nets out to zero. So there's no expense to the general fund. But if you want to see, I mean, I can do a budget report just like these reports for Fund 20.
Well, I just remember last time you mentioned that there might be a certain amount of money that might need to come out of facilities instead of the CARES grant. So it's just to me, it's getting a little confusing, okay, we have this amount of money. Are we going to be short? That kind of thing. Where are we at with it? This is an ongoing thing.
Everything that we've spent is in here right now. So all the facilities that we're going to cover, the supplies have come out of facilities, but the grant money that's going to cover that grant, I had it sitting in a FEMA grant. And now I'm transferring it to the CARES grant.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, if you want to see the reports, I can put those in the board packet for the next board meeting. I'm just not clear what exactly you want to see.
I guess I was just envisioning an ongoing tally of where we're at. We have X amount of dollars allocated in the CARES money. Where are we at?
It's all allocated already. We just reallocated it because we didn't need as many more Chromebooks as what we initially put in to request from the grant. So instead of buying those Chromebooks, we're covering the purchases of the thermometers and all the shields that we've bought for special ed and one-on-ones, that kind of stuff.
And you've gotten insurance that I know you've applied for all these, but not all the funds have come.
No, the way the federal grants work is they assign you an amount. So we
Right.
$256,000 budget. And then Nancy puts in the grant how we're going to spend it. So each grant has different activities for each item that we're going to spend. And then as we purchase the items, I request the money from the state and they reimburse us. So all the federal grants work in that same way. Does that make sense? We can talk more, Hope. Yeah, give me a call.
Bridget, did you have something? No? Okay. Anything else in regards to Deb's report? We got a couple more things coming up for bids here under new business with occasional funding in New Hampshire. Tim, do we have nothing new?
Nothing new.
Nothing old, nothing new. All right, thank you. Public comment response update. I believe we're all caught up with that. It's been, knock on wood, pretty quiet. Anything that we get from the last meeting it's been very quiet actually, which is.
I did not respond to Dan Kiley specifically. He has asked that he has requested that I don't have to email him every time.
Right.
So, yes.
That's right. Okay, thank you. All right, new business, the propane bid approval. And there's Deb.
So you have the propane bids and the fuel bids in your packet. I don't know if you want to do a motion first and then discuss, or?
I'll make a motion that we award the bid for propane for 6,000 gallons to Suburban Propane in the amount of $7,005.
Second.
I'll second that.
All right, Danielle, thank you. Okay, discussion? Sure.
So I just have a quick question, Deb, because I think this came up last year, but it was a little confusing, and I'm just wondering how it works with a bid process.
Mhm.
So I think this is a slightly bigger gap, but it's still not necessarily huge when it comes to who's not far off on being the lowest bid, but they are for the other one.
Mhm.
Are you allowed to, I don't know how you would phrase it to them, but are you allowed to ask for a bid saying we would like to work with you, but we would need a slightly better bid so that we could use you for both, like propane and oil? Or am I making sense?
When I put out requests for bids, I take the bid I get. It doesn't seem like a good idea if I want to continue to get bids from people, if I go back and renegotiate with somebody else without doing the same for all the companies that I asked to bid. So in this case, Suburban Propane only has propane. They don't do oil. I mean, I could in the future lump these together, say bid propane and oil together, and we'll take the combined price. But I would have to say that up front. And I mean, this has been done this way before me. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, I do understand what you're saying, and I could do that in the future because it would be easier for us to have one company, frankly. But then I feel bad because Suburban I don't think has ever bid before
Right.
when I've sent a request.
And I know that Brewster kind of asked that last year, and that's what I was wondering the same thing, because it would be easier / they would get more business from us if we could have the bid together for you, hopefully for
and
you.
Irving certainly would, they certainly would want our business. I mean, if the school board, I mean, it's up to the school board to accept or not accept the bids. I mean, I just recommend based on the price. But if the school board decided that it would make more sense to have one company servicing the whole district, you could elect to not take the lowest bid and take the next lowest bid in order to do that. That's really up to you, but I wouldn't ask Suburban to bid again, that's all.
Brewster?
Can I say something? But, Suburban does deliver oil now, and they have been delivering oil since, I don't know, last year or 2 years ago. They've got oil, they got oil trucks over in Lebanon. But my concern is they do, because I don't know why they didn't bid on the,
Because I didn't ask them to.
but well, Lebanon's got it, there's all the places, they switched over, so I used to, I know, because I used to work for them a long time ago.
Yeah.
My concern with not with the bid is with the emergency services, and not that we get that here at the school, but They just had a recent emergency just the other day down in Grafton and trying to get a technician there with a 1,000-gallon propane tank that somebody ran over. They did get somebody there, but Irving's got a lot more techs available. And I looked at the bid, I'm like, okay, 7110 versus 7,005. It's only $105 difference. I'd rather see us go with the Irving one because, I mean, it's up to the board to vote on it, whatever, but the simple fact is their emergency services are a lot faster, a lot quicker. And they do handle everything like 24 hours a day. So I would, I not, it does $105 to me. It makes sense to go with them because of their response time and everything else. Not that we have a problem down here, but I'd say for $105, it's not much of a change. I just know for emergency standpoint, if we had problems, they would be here in a heartbeat because there's techs everywhere around here.
So just so the board knows, we use propane for cooking only at the schools. The SAU is the only building that heats with it. And technically, I mean, propane used to be higher, but I really only need to bring bids to the board for over $10,000. But I've always done these two together, so here.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to accept Suburban Propane's bid of $7,005?
I mean, I think Brewster has a good point about keeping it together with one company, so I would be happy to withdraw my motion and make an alternative motion.
Danielle?
Yeah, I would be fine with that as well. I mean, the concern that I would have is potentially burning any bridges with Suburban, but and any possible feedback we have from the community about not taking the lowest bid.
I'm pretty sure I could explain it to Suburban that we really appreciate you bidding, but it was so close and the board would really like to stay with one company for both. So I would be diplomatic.
Yeah.
No doubt. Then I will withdraw my motion and instead make a motion to award the bid for propane to Irving Energy in the amount of $7,110. And then for oil to Irving Energy for the amount of $19,263.
I'll second it.
Bruce to go for the second.
The first was for propane, the second was for oil.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Kathleen?
Here you are.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Okay, now I'm all set. Deborah, does the service contract depend on the yearly from which vendor we're buying from? Or do you have a regular schedule for service on like the boilers and whatever?
So all our service contracts are with other vendors besides the suppliers. So very seldom does Irving service anything. Once, I think they do some with our oil boilers, but mostly we have other companies like for all of our kitchen equipment. We use Alliance Mechanical right now, and we've used Froling and Johnson Controls for our other boilers.
Okay, any further discussion on both the propane bid and the oil bid? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're looking at setting the 2020-2021 tuition rate. Do we have any handout for that? 'Cause
No, Cookie, you do not have a handout.
okay.
Last year, we reviewed this back in November, I think, I don't know, the 12th-ish. And we did look at the state average compared to what the Mascoma average was. And hold on, let me find you what the average was. So at that time, Mascoma, for the average per pupil cost was about $19,500, so $19,500. And the average state, or the state average was $15,800. So I do believe, Deb's got some exact numbers though, I do believe that we set it for 5% over the state average if it was a single person request for tuition. And then we set it at 3% over if it was a request that involved multiple schools or multiple students from a school. So sort of a discount deal. I just wanted to make sure that the board was thinking that same way, or if the board would rather go with just a straight amount. Right now, Deb, what are we looking at for numbers?
So the 2018-19, which is the last report we have, we won't have the 19-20 until December. The average, state average was 16,345. So 103% of that, 16,836. And 105% of that is 17,163. So those would be comparable to what we were charging, or we were offering to charge last year.
Okay.
I would also just say that other schools are charging exactly the cost per pupil at the high school level. So I don't think that would hurt us either to just look at what is the cost for us per pupil at the high school level either, so. And I am being informed that it's 22 and some change.
22,426 as of last year. I think when we talked about this last year, I talked about economies of scale and how that all plays out. 1, 5, 10 more students would not increase our costs anywhere.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure and how they would like to work this?
I mean, I'm happy keeping it where we set it in the fall at 5% over the state average for now, but we can certainly look at the high school. If we saw like more than, I don't know, 3 or 4 high school students coming in, then maybe for the following year, we should look at changing that for the high school only. Surely if we look at remote, that would be an entirely different type of tuition, like remote academy type thing. But I'm good with keeping it like 5% over the state average. Because like Deb said, with economies of scale, we're not attracting like 100 kids in here. It'd be a very small number, so.
Exactly. Okay.
I feel the same way, and I think it would also be interesting when we look at this again, maybe next year, to continue this conversation, to have a sense of how many people that impacts, I mean, how many students we tuition in, and if they are at the high school level, which I assume that they probably are.
Yeah, currently we do have 1 student that we tuition in at the high school level.
Okay.
But we often do get requests from parents to know what it would be to tuition in their children themselves, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so I look forward to a motion here so we can at least do that, and then that way there, if we needed to change it, we can come back and do the revisions. No, I think the 5% over the state average in that motion would probably be
Okay.
sufficient.
I'll make a motion that we
Yeah.
we set the 2020-2021 tuition rate at 5% over the state average.
Second.
Okay, Tim Josephson and Bridget Labrie for the second. Any further discussion?
Oh, and an addendum with 3% over for multiple kids,
Multiple kids.
multiple students tuitioning in from the same family.
Correct.
Same district. or
I s-
family. However we had it, however we did it in the fall,
Okay,
I think.
okay. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next on the agenda is the Aspen Institute Project Play. This come to my attention and Amanda's attention from Danielle Thompson. And so I'm going to leave it over to Danielle to give an overview of what this is about and if the board is interested in what we could do to maybe pursue something.
Thanks, Cookie. So the Aspen Institute's Project Play is a national organization that looks at the role of co-curricular activities, in particular sports, on positive outcomes in students and communities. And one of the things that they are in the process of doing right now is a new national study called Reimagining School Sports. It's not in your packet, but I did have Martha make copies of a survey, and it talks a little bit about the project background as well as some specific things about this survey. But the Reimagining School Sports in America is really looking for ideas and innovations and how to get kids so that they are feeling comfortable and able to participate in the types of activities like school-based sports that can have a really positive impact on their learning outcomes and on their behaviors and all sorts of things, especially for girls as they're growing up. And this particular project is in partnership with Adidas, Reebok, the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation, and the Hospital for Special Surgery, which is they do a lot of orthopedic and sports medicine type of work. It is a project that is just kind of kicking off a multi-year campaign. And as I mentioned, they're looking to identify strategies and models that engage and create more healthy opportunities for students. They are in conjunction with this campaign, they have two specific things that are going on right now. One is a contest essentially to find out about innovative types of programs that are happening at the high school level across the country. And they're doing grants. They say win contest and you win a prize, but it really is a grant to help further support these innovations. And one of the things that I really liked about it is that it has 8 different categories. So it includes both categories for urban and rural, small, medium, large, charter and private schools, as well as public schools. So we would fall into the rural, small high school category of having less 350 students or less. And so what is going to come out of this is a lot of information about best practices and things that are happening across the country, and not just the things that are happening in big cities or in communities that don't look like ours. And so there's really an opportunity for us to participate as well as learn from these initiatives. And the second thing that they've put together is they've worked with resident education to put together a survey that will be part of this national study. And through the sponsorship of the national organizations that I mentioned previously, this participation and the reporting on the survey data is available at no charge to schools that participate. And really, they're looking for reasons why kids do and do not participate in co-curricular programming. You see here that it lists some different benefits. This is an anonymous online survey. It'll take about 10 minutes for students to complete. One thing I specifically asked for, because I know that this actually fits really well with one of our co-curricular goals, the one that's I can find it again. One of our school board goals was to engage and support students to forecast future needs and interests for all programs. And this fits squarely in that wheelhouse. So here's something that we can take advantage of, again, at no cost to us, to be able to have some data and to have some data analysis that we can spend our energy actually looking at and trying to find what works best for our kids, as opposed to spending time and energy that we probably don't necessarily have in district to create an evidence-based survey instrument and put that into our community. The summary reports that we'll get out of this will highlight areas such as current involvement in sports and activities, athlete satisfaction, student interest levels, future plans to participate, reasons for not participating in sports and clubs, in-school versus out-of-school participation, and interest in sports and activities not currently offered or available. One of the other benefits to participating in this is that it does give us some data to improve or maintain our Title IX compliance. We'll be talking about Title IX a little bit later in some of our policy work. Again, it gives us some information that we'll be able to use to better plan within our district and to have a better sense of what what our students are looking for. This particular survey was geared for high school students, but knowing that, but they are administering it also to some junior, senior high schools. And so I asked specifically if we could also utilize this survey at the middle school level, and they agreed to do that. And what would happen is there'd be two separate, there'd be a survey that would be sent, to the high school students, and there would be a survey that would be sent to the middle school students in different, they'd be categorized as different schools, so that again, we'd have really specific data that we'd be able to look back on and see, okay, well, middle schoolers are interested in yoga, but the high schoolers want cricket, whatever. It's not going to be cricket, I'm pretty sure. Although that'd be kind of fun, but but it is something that we would be able to utilize across the age spans, so that we'd have a little bit more information about this. This survey was provided as a draft, as a courtesy. I requested it from the Project Play folks and Resident Education. It's not part of the online packet because it is a proprietary survey instrument. Parents would be able to, we could put together a sampling or have a copy in the office that parents could come and see if they wish to review the survey in advance before giving permission. Conversations with Cookie and Amanda reminded me that this would be considered a non-academic survey, which according to our policy means that it is an opt-in versus an opt-out, according to what we have. And so we would have to administer or send out, basically similar to some of the other things that we as parents have had to do online, create a quick Google form, which I will help to draft. And that basically goes out to all the high school and middle school families to say, yes, I give permission for my student to take part in this 10-minute online anonymous survey, and then it would be administered. The link itself would be administered through athletic directors. Is the idea, so that it's not one more thing for our faculty to have to worry about, but it is an activity. This is a good flex day sort of activity, and so it would be something that wouldn't necessarily take away from their academic time. It would be able to be administered by school staff. It is really important that that students participate, not just the kids that are already involved in sports, but the ones that are not participating in sports, so we know why. Is it because they have to help take care of younger children? Is it transportation issues? It just gives us the potential to have more data to be able to say, apply for grants or to look for future opportunities. So that's some background on it and kind of some of the benefits that I see to our community for participating in this. And so I'd make a motion that we approve the administration of the Aspen Institute's Reimagining School Sports Survey at the high school and middle school level.
I'll second it.
Okay, Daniel Thompson for the motion, Bridget LaBrie for the second. I'll open it up for discussion for the rest of the board at this time. Bridget?
So yeah, this is kind of perfect because it's a discussion that we were having in co-curricular about wanting to survey our students and finding out what is still of interest, what isn't, what they would like to see, and all of that. So it'd actually be kind of nice that we can get, it looks like all of that information here, and we can get the numbers of who participated. So we'll have a pretty good idea as far as percentage. And then I guess once we know, we can kind of cross that bridge of if we didn't have a high percentage of participation, what do we do? How do we get it? But yeah, this is kind of great timing actually, and really great. So huge thank you for doing this.
Anyone else?
Just to echo what Danielle and Bridget said, this is something we've been looking for, this data. We're kicking around to do this, so that thank you. This is exactly what we're looking for. So I hope a lot of parents give permission to their students to take this survey. It's a fairly innocent and not, very, very, I don't want to say bland, but non-controversial. So, but this will help us, create those co-curricular activities and those sports that kids actually want to play. So I like it.
Daniel, do you know if the survey, the summary report, it will break out our children or our school district? Will it also provide information as compared to other district or other, wherever they're surveying?
Yeah, so there will be, we'll have anonymized data for our district itself, and that'll be two kind of summary reports, one for the middle school level and one for the high school level. And then just looking back on my notes, because I asked specifically how the data would be used. Aspen will not identify any individual or any school involved with the project. The aggregated data will be used. Number one, aggregated results of the survey will be used to inform strategies and recommendations that will be published as part of the final report for the Reimagining School Sports in America initiative. The report will be available in hard copy and online. No identifiable student responses will be published as part of the Aspen's final report or other related publications, and no school details relating to the survey or identifiable school level survey results will be published in any publication. So we'll have that information on our own. I don't know if we'll have the comparison set until after the full report has been completed, but we certainly would be able to have our data set, and then once the report is made public, we'd be able to see how we up or compare with others. And I believe because they do have this, they're looking at things in these categories of rural versus urban, small, medium, large, private versus public, that there probably will be they'll probably be looking at some trends for those types of categories as well. So I think, again, it will be a great opportunity to see kind of how we stack up, how our students are feeling, and what they're doing compared to others in those same categories.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
The only thing I have is you're gonna have to hurry because the deadline is October 16th and today's the 21st or 22nd. So that's the only thing.
Okay,
We wanted to make sure that we had the board's approval before putting anything in place, of course. And we do they do have a little bit of a flexible tail on there. So if it happens later in October, for example, they're okay with that. They'd given that approval. And my contact at Resident Education, the survey provider, I had given him the information for tonight's meeting, but he had to respectfully decline because he has 3 kids who had a school function this evening, and so he wasn't able to join us. But if there are any other questions that come up, let me know, and I'll be reporting back to him that about the results of tonight's discussion.
Thank you, Danielle. Anything further? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to do the survey with the Aspen Institute, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and it passes unanimously. Thank you, Danielle, for that.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we have some policies that, let's see. We've got the first reading, which is a new policy for policy ACAC title. The sexual harassment. Okay, sorry. I was trying to read it. ACAC.
No, Cookie, this is actually updated Title IX regulations by the federal government. So this policy catches us up to those regulations that went in effect late August. So it does, in fact, take, you will see that there are 1, 2, 3 policies, GBAA, JBAA, and ACA coming after this. So should the board choose to...
I'm having some trouble with the connection. Please try again in a moment.
We need to implement this policy. I will be asking the board to waive a second reading and to approve this policy tonight should it pass first reading. And that way we could immediately rescind those 3 policies that it does replace.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion then to approve for first reading, bypass second reading, and for adoption, policy ACAC Title IX sexual harassment.
Kathleen Stacy for the second. Any further discussion?
This is pretty.
No, it's very comprehensive and it's, covers everything and very well written. There was on page 5, at the very end, under the section E confidentiality, it does have redundant paragraph that you might want to just get rid of. It says additionally, any supportive measures offered to the complainant or respondent shall remain confidential. And then at the very bottom of it, it says the same thing again. It's just simply a matter of deleting redundant.
I see that, Hope. Thank you.
You see it? Yeah.
All right, Jim?
I was just going to say this is pretty high-level, detailed legalese. So I'm not going to dip my toe in trying to tweak too much, but thank you, Hope. But this comes from us from the School Board Association, and they recommended that we urgently approve this because of the consequences if we don't. How about that?
Very good. Bridget?
So the only question I have, because I know we typically try to put Mascoma Valley Regional School Board, blah, 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 and I didn't see it in this one, even though I know it relates to others, but I wasn't sure if maybe, can we add that at the very beginning, that where it says per board, can we say per Mascoma Valley Regional School Board policy? Does that mess with it? Or I wasn't sure with this one.
Yeah, I think we can add that. Where does it say that, Bridget? Where is, I see a district in here under the first Roman numeral 1.
Yeah, if you go to the very top under the restatement of policy, that first.
Okay. Oh, the per board. Got it. Yep.
Just so we keep with our usual.
Yep, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so policy ACAC Title IX sexual harassment for first reading, second reading, and adoption tonight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and that passes unanimously. Okay, so now we're going to, we get the procedures for that one, correct? AC-R Title IX Sexual Harassment Grievance Procedures. And these are new.
Yes, this was also part of the policy, but it was actually more of a procedural type So we, like many other school districts, well, there's only one other school district that we could find that has actually adopted this policy already, felt it best to split it out. So we just have two different splits there. So we have the policy AC, and then the procedure, just for ease of people that need to reference it. But yes, I'd also like an approval and an adoption on that, if you would. I'm sorry, Tim, I should have asked for that at the very beginning.
I should have caught that at the beginning. So I'll make a motion that we approve procedure AC-AC-R for first reading, second reading, and adoption.
Kathleen and Stacy for the second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, oh, Danielle.
In case we want to be consistent with our addition of Mascoma Valley Regional School District in the first reference of district.
Okay. Okay, any other questions, changes? Okay, all those in favor of the ACAC-R Title IX Sexual Harassment Grievance Procedures for first reading, second reading, and adoption, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Another unanimous vote. Okay, now we have policy GBAA, JBAA, and all corresponding procedures under sexual harassment employees dash staff to be rescinded.
I'll make a motion. We actually have another one on the next page too. So I make a motion that we rescind policy GBAA, JBAA, and all corresponding procedures for those, as well as policy ACA, as well as all corresponding procedures related to that, to rescind.
I'll second.
All right, so Tim Josephson and Bridget Labrie. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion rescinding all associated policies as stated in the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? And that passes unanimously. Okay, so agenda items for next meeting. Well, I guess maybe an update from Danielle to see how the progress is going with that survey.
Yep. And I
We can
think
put that under
also-
continuing business if you like.
Yep, that would be great.
Okay,
And I think we also will have a communications committee meeting that we can report out.
right, we should have a finance and facilities. I think that's about it. I mean, nothing earth shattering at this point, so. I mean,
Budget
didn't mean
stuff.
say it so lightly, Amanda. Click the heels. All right. The
Budget committee will have
5th,
met
right, because we meet,
On the 5th,
13th.
the 13th. is
oh, we
the-
meet
school
on the
board,
13th,
yeah.
right, yeah, okay, yep. All right. So budget survey, okay, committees.
And I know I usually try to attend the budget meetings, even though they're not mandatory, but with coaching, I'm trying to be
Yeah.
present so we have two hands. So I
Yeah.
might not make it until after the season.
That's fine. Okay, I guess we'll move on to public comment. Oh, we have no one in the auditorium again. Anyone out there in Zoom land would like to comment? Let's see. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any. Personnel resignations and nominations.
So coming around right now, I do have a list of nominations for renewals for various co-curricular activities, mainly at the high school. Actually, looks like they're pretty much all at the high school. So these are just renewals. for people who have done these, held these positions previously. And at the very bottom, I am regretfully here tonight with a letter from Nancy Murphy announcing her retirement for 45 years. She has, served this district in a full-time capacity, for which we are very, very grateful.
Yes.
Yes, you do have Nancy's request for retirement in your packet.
Nancy Murphy was the first teacher that my son had when we came here. And I'll tell you, we had such a good rapport. I mean, she was a great teacher, and to see her dedication to the district will be truly missed.
I've only Nancy in this capacity. What grades did she teach?
Second grade. It was in second grade.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's where I met her, and that's where we the history started. Yeah. So, okay. So I guess we'll entertain a motion in regards to the nominations and the one resignation.
I'll make a motion that we accept the nominations as presented and the resignation with regret.
Thank you, Kathleen. Okay, any comments, questions, discussion?
Again, as with the extracurricular or the co-curricular activities and stuff, I just want to make sure that, like we talked about last time with drama, maybe it doesn't look like a play, but it looks like something different they're doing. These advisors are going to, they'll tweak it how they have to based on COVID and things like that, and try to incorporate remote academy students into it if they can and publicize it that way, but that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion for the staff nominations and accepting the resignation with the regret of Nancy Murphy, signify by saying aye. Oh. I'm sorry. See by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions. Okay, and that's unanimous again. I said, oh, I miss you. Okay, do we have any non-public?
Yes, we do, for the purposes of hiring. So that would be subsection B.
Motion to go into non-public by
Oh,
the
and-
RSA. What?
I'm sorry, we also do have a request for a tuition waiver. That is not in there. I believe that's letter C.
Okay. So Brewster wants to go into non-public under B and C. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jim Josephson for the second. We'll do a roll call vote, beginning with Brewster Gove. You gotta turn it on, Brewster.
I did. I punched it. Yes, I'm kidding. Yeah, my fingers are moving.
Bridget Labrie,
Yes.
Jim Josephson,
Yes.
Danielle Thompson,
Yes.
Kathleen Stacy,
Yes.
and Hope Stragnell,
Yes.
and Cookie Hebert, yes. And we're in non-public at
I don't know if there's
7:13.
anybody there, but I'm gonna put everybody who is not a school board member or the superintendent or business administrator into the waiting room. And at the end of non-public, I will invite you back in.
Is that it?
All right, Cookie, we're good.
All right, thank you. So we have, we have a tuition waiver.
I'll make a motion that we approve the tuition waiver as presented in non-public.
Second.
Danielle Thompson for the second.
For the 2020-2021 school year.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, unanimous. We also have nominations, the new hires.
I'll make a motion that we accept the nominations as presented in non-public.
Second.
Bridget Labrie for the second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, and that passes unanimously as well. Does the board have anything else for tonight? Okay.
I just wanted to point out to the board, I should have done this in my superintendent's report, but in your informational only part of this, of the agenda, the packet, you will notice that there is the pivot plan. That pivot plan was presented by Nancy Murphy to the entire staff at the same time. So that's a pivot plan, meaning should there be one school that needs to go remotely or the entire district, what would that mean? Or one, or even one classroom. So that plan is there, ready to go. And you do have some numbers for our remote students broken out by school and by town.
Thank you for that data, Amanda. I had asked for that, like, just informational, but it's good to see where our holes are for, you know, because I was curious how many kids in Dorchester or Orange. There's 4 kids in Dorchester, which is 4 more than I expected, honestly, doing remote, and 1 in Orange. So this helps, you know, solidify our argument that high-speed internet is needed.
All right. Well, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Seeing none, I'll adjourn the meeting at 7:42.